live wherever you get your BBC podcasts.
Coming up is Outlook from the BBC World Service. Nasabi looks back on his reality TV life. His verdict isn't as damning as you might expect.
The spotlight I got after the official was I was being laughed at. Sure. But also people were cheering for me. That's also a fact. And 25 years after the show came, people still come up to me and say, "Oh, I saw you at the show and I was really rooting for you."
It's after the news.
BBC News with Neil Nunes. A ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah is coming into effect in Lebanon after more than a year of conflict. Shortly before the deadline, Israel carried out further airstrikes on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Under the deal, thousands of Lebanese government troops were moved into the south of the country as Israel withdraws its forces. A report by police in Brazil says the former president Jair Bolsonaro actively participated in a coup plot in order to stay in power following his election defeat in 2022. The document also alleges that Mr. Bolsonaro was fully aware of a plan to assassinate his successor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Bolivia has signed a billion-dollar contract with a Chinese company to extract lithium, a key component in batteries and electric vehicles. Two plants will be built on the base of the salt plants. An Australian producer used a taser to a 95-year-old woman in a care home and they found guilty of manslaughter. Christian White fired the weapon after Claire Nolan was found with a small kitchen knife. Donald Trump has named Jameson Blair as his trade envoy, a position making his second oversee the implementation of tariffs. U.S. President-elect Mr. Blair had played a key role during his first term in imposing tariffs on China. Poland and Ukraine say they've made progress in resolving a historical dispute over massacres during the Second World War, which have remained a source of friction between the countries. U.S. customs officials at Los Angeles Airport have arrested a man attempting to smuggle 2 suitcases full of drugs, including a dark onesie, that were soaked in methamphetamine. Drugs were discovered when the bags passed through an X-ray machine. BBC News.
Welcome back to part 2 of Outlook from the BBC World Service. I'm Naveen Azar. It's 1998 and Nasabi is an aspiring comedian in his early 20s. He's just auditioned for Japan's reality TV survival show Denpa Shonen. It's the hit as the nation looks. But this series feels different from the start. Nasabi is told to strip naked, and the producers tell him he has to enter sweepstake competitions for all of his sustenance. All his food has to be won. In fact, Nasabi will have to buck up $1 million worth of prizes to complete the challenge. He's told it's an experimental idea, probably won't make it to air. Let's go through. The show is aired, and it's a phenomenal success. Nasabi had no idea it was a celebrity and national following. This goes on for months. His hair is long, things to talk to himself. In fact, he's so starved of human contact that when he wins a stuffed toy, he moves it around the room like a pet. Nasabi, talk to me about how you were feeling. If you can, close your eyes and take yourself back to that time. I want you to consider the hunger, the loneliness, how you were feeling.
そうですね、いろいろなことを考えましたけど、やっぱりそうですね、孤独と向き合って
So there were many thoughts that was in my head. The most difficult one was facing isolation. They didn't lock the outside doors, so you can technically go outside. But I didn't because I don't know if I should call it Stockholm syndrome, but I was in a very weird mindset. After a month, I started to feel like rather than making changes, it would be safer for me to just keep repeating what I'm doing. And the willpower, like, is gone. You know? But
given that you didn't know it was being broadcast, and given that you were living in solitude, feeling the sadness, feeling like you were isolated, what kept you going? Why was it so important for you to stay?
そうですね。やはり多分ちょっとはその100万、100千円賞金の総額になった
I think there were several factors. One is there was a goal. If I won a total of $1 million yen at the end of this project. Although I felt like I was in a tunnel, no light yet. I was writing about 100 letters per day from the magazine. But as I started winning things and stuff started to accumulate in my house, I feel that I was inching closer to a goal. So just living day by day out my own, step by step, I knew that I was closer to my goal than I was pushing on. The other factor is, like I said, I didn't want to lose against Tsuchiya people. And some people call it grit. Some overseas people like to call it a samurai spirit. And for me, because I'm from a Tohoku region, which is in the north, people are known for their resilience. So I think there were lots of
You certainly were resilient and you kept going. And as you say, you had to win prizes to total 1 million yen. You know, and you became famous for doing a winning dance. So every time you win something, you do the dance, they broadcast it, audiences loved it, people would laugh. Were you happy?
そうですね。あれに関してはちょっと、途中からなんか自分でもどういう、まあ、簡単に
So it's kind of funny because I started to lose objectivity, and once the show was done, people would talk to me about the dance, and I said, "What dance?" I didn't even notice I was doing it. I don't remember. It's as if I was in some sort of a trance state, and I think it's similar to when the caveman days, people express the joy of the win of the hunt. Something came out from the bottom of the soul, the human DNA. So I wasn't doing that for comedic effect. It was a true expression of my joy in being able to subsist for another day and being closer to my freedom. So if you see people dancing like that today, you would think what's wrong with it. But at that time, in that environment, that was my pure expression of joy.
Nasabi keeps going. On day 333, he wins another bag of rice. Finally, it's his 1 million yen target. The crew stop telling us it's his goal though. Instead, they sneak into his apartment in the middle of the night.
The producer has brought something with him. Take a look.
It's a party popper. Shining a torch straight at Nasabi to wake him up, lets it off right in his face. Scared and confused, he's just woken up. What on earth is going on? I've seen the footage. You seem completely disoriented.
I was so distrustful of them at that point. I didn't believe what Mr. Tsuchiya was saying. I thought that this was another prank to loop me into something even more crazier. So what I felt at that point was just doubt and distrust.
And that distrust was well placed, because instead of that being the end, Nasabi is now flown to Korea, where he's told he has to fill in more sweepstake competitions until he wins the value of a first-class flight back to Japan. This time around, the whole process, how long did it take? How many days, how many weeks?
約だから、日本が終わったら11月、
The sweepstake life in Japan was from January to November, and the one in Korea was from November to March. After a year and 3 months of all that has happened, my mind was definitely broken. I was obedient to a point that I didn't feel like I had free will, and because my communication with other people were limited, I only had a chance to talk to Tsuchiya-san or to say hi to the staff. I really didn't know what it was like to act on your own will.
After months in Korea, Nasabi reaches his next target and is again woken up in the middle of the night. Blindfolded, he's bundled into the back of a car. He has no idea where he's going. He's driven to a port and then onto a ship. He's taken to a new location, and the blindfold comes off. It looks like he's back in the room that has become home for more than a year now. Nasabi sighs and takes off his clothes. His will is broken. He sits down on the floor, naked and alone. Then, right on cue, the walls around him collapse. Nasabi screams. He looks around him. He's on stage in a huge television studio in Japan with a massive audience staring at him in delight. Confetti falls from the ceiling. Nasabi looks terrified. Two presenters approach him on stage. "Excuses," they say. "Are you okay?" "My house fell down," Nasabi says. "And there's lots of people here." The audience roars with laughter. When the room collapses around you, you see and everyone sees that this is on live television and you are in a studio, a very shiny studio with studio lighting, a huge studio audience, presenters with microphones. You know, this is kind of peak production value, glossy television. For you to have been living in solitude for so long and now be catapulted into the entirely opposite environment, that must have been such a huge shock to your system.
でも本当に頭も心も真っ白という
I actually don't have a lot of memory from that moment. Could have been minutes, could have been hours, but both my brain and my heart was just drawing blanks. I don't remember much from it. It was so shocking and overwhelming.
Was this also the moment that you learned that the country had been watching you? That your whole ordeal, if I can call it that, had been documented, it had been going out on TV?
そうですね、あの瞬間にそのインタビューされていて
Yes, so that's when the interviewer told me that this whole thing was being aired and everyone was watching it. And she asked me a few questions. I don't really remember. I think I reacted to what she said, but in my head, I was just drawing blanks.
What about the next 24 hours?
そうですね、しばらくの間は本当に現状を理解する
Looking back at it after the weeks and months that followed, a lot of emotions went through me. A lot of time to understand what was happening because my mind was so broken. It took longer than usual to understand and realize that I'm finally free. But then came the feeling of distrust towards Tsuchiya-san for actually airing this when he said he probably wouldn't. Distrust towards the staff that knew what was happening, didn't really help me. And also fear of the people who were watching this show and laughing at my predicament. So that was going on.
So it strikes me there's a